Becoming a famous rapper is a lot of people's dream, but apparently, it's not as great as we think. Today, we're taking a look at rappers who reached the top of the game and decided to give it all up. Let's dive right in. Waka Flocka Flame. Waka Flocka broke out into the mainstream back in 2009 when he dropped the track, Oh Let's Do It. He's known Gucci Mane since he was 19 because Waka's mom was Gucci's manager and CEO of his So Icy Entertainment label, and Gucci ended up signing him to 1017 Brick Squad. Oh Let's Do It popped off and hit number 62 on the Billboard Hot 100. Waka was already one of the hottest rappers in the game, but then he was almost killed during a robbery before he had the chance to reach his full potential. In January 2010, Waka was robbed at a car wash in Atlanta and ended up getting shot in the arm. Luckily, he made it out of the situation alive because nobody expected what came next. In October, Waka dropped his debut album, Flockavelli, and got the attention of the entire industry. Flockavelli debuted at number 6 on a Billboard 200 chart, and the track No Hands ended up going 3 times platinum and has almost 500 million plays on Spotify. Waka became one of the biggest rappers in the game almost overnight. He followed up Flockavelli by dropping a huge series of mixtapes and 2 more albums in 2011 and 2012. Waka's last album dropped in 2012, and after that, he pretty much faded out of the spotlight. He kept on releasing mixtapes and a few singles, but nothing that made waves like his early work. So why would a rapper at the top of the game decide to give it all up? In 2018, Flocka had an interview with BET's Rack Rants and said, "I've been gave it up. They booking me. I don't want to rap. They forced me to put new music out. I did what I came to do. I made past $30 million. Everybody I started with is rich. Everybody I started with is happy. I don't have nothing else to do." Back in 2013, Waka told his fans that Flockavelli 2 was finished and was going to drop in October. Then he pushed the date back to January 2014, but the album never came. In 2020, he announced that he was officially retiring and would drop his last album that year. Fans thought they were finally going to get Flockavelli 2 after waiting for almost a decade, but Waka never dropped it. Even though he decided to quit at the top, Waka still had a legendary career. In 2020, he told Complex that he only started rapping to get rich and that he was a whack rapper. In the interview, he said,
"I want to be rich. So from that time to right now, I want to figure out how can I become a billionaire and a multi-millionaire off of business. Because I did it with rap. I was a whack rapper. Like, I knew I was whack, but I was real. See what I'm saying? My realness overcame my whackness."
Waka has changed his mind about retiring before, but this time, looks like he really means it. Going back and forth about quitting is one thing, but this next artist announced their retirement and then hop back in the game just a few days later. Lil Pump. When it comes to SoundCloud rappers, Lil Pump is the OG. He popped off with tracks like D-Rose and Boss, but then blew up even more when he dropped Gucci Gang. The track went viral immediately and peaked at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100, and today, it's certified 5 times platinum. Gucci Gang and Pump's debut album made him one of the hottest new rappers in the industry, and in 2018, he went viral again after he dropped the track I Love It with Kanye West. His second album came out in 2019 with features from massive artists like Lil Wayne, Lil Uzi, Offset, and 2 Chainz. So it looked like Pump was really trying to take over the game. But in February 2020, he shocked fans by announcing his retirement. On February 13th, Pump posted a picture of his watch on Instagram and captioned it with, "I'm done doing music. I quit." Nobody knew what was really going on, but Pump probably wasn't expecting the response he got. While some fans asked him not to quit, others used the post to troll him. Comments like, "And God said, let there be light," and "We've been done listening, so it's okay, buddy," racked up thousands of likes and proved that Pump's retirement didn't mean much to a lot of people. There was rumors that it was all a publicity stunt. A few days later, Pump pretty much confirmed it when he posted a video of himself dancing to a new track with the caption, "Y'all thought I quit. I'm back." He tried to get some attention with the retirement stunt, but it ended up backfiring on him. Pump got dissed all over the internet after it went down, and none of his new music has really popped off. In 2021, he dropped a collab album with Ronnie J, but it flopped, and the singles ain't even chart. Pump is still making new music and just announced the I'm Back tour, but it don't seem like he'll ever be as big as he was when he first blew up. He tried to keep people interested with the retirement announcement, but it just proved that fans in the industry had already moved on. But Lil Pump ain't the only rapper with a short retirement. This next artist wanted to quit the game, but came back less than a year later. Logic. Logic doesn't get the same kind of respect from fans as a lot of rappers, but he still had a crazy successful career with 6 albums that reached the top 10 on the Billboard 200 chart. But in 2020, he announced he was quitting rap for good so he could focus on being a father. Logic started dropping mixtapes in 2010 and built a buzz early on. By the time he released his 3rd mixtape in 2012, he already had a big fan base and was headlining his own national tour. He was a member of XXL's freshman list in 2013, and the next year, he dropped his debut album, Under Pressure, which debuted at number 4 on the Billboard 200 chart. Over the next few years, Logic kept grinding and leveling up. Every project he dropped was doing numbers, and then, in 2017, he took it to a whole new level. His third album, Everybody, dropped in May 2017 and debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200. The third single for the project was a suicide awareness track called 1-800-273-8255, which went viral and ended up going 5 times platinum. Music wasn't the only thing Logic was focused on, though. He played himself on an episode of Rick and Morty, voiced a villain in The Last of Us Part 2, and announced that he was going to write and star in his own movie. But even though he was working on a lot of side projects, he never stopped releasing music. In 2019, he dropped his 5th album, which became his 3rd project to reach #1 on the Billboard 200 chart. At this point, it seemed like his career would just keep getting bigger, but in 2020, he shocked his fans when he announced that his next album was going to be his last. In July 2020, Logic hopped on Twitter and wrote, "Officially announcing my retirement with the release of No Pressure, executive produced by No ID, July 24th. It's been a great decade. Now it's time to be a great father." After he quit music, Logic signed a deal with Twitch and started streaming full-time. He worked with some of the biggest streamers in the world like Mr. Beast and PewDiePie, but it didn't take long for him to come back to the rap game. In April 2021, he uploaded a collab track with Madlib on his YouTube channel, and 2 months later, he announced that his retirement was officially over. Logic explained what happened to Variety in June 2022. In an interview, he said, "I really just wanted to be off Def Jam, to be frank. I did retire for a little bit, at least in my mind, from the bullshit of the music industry. Then, I came to realize none of this shit matters, that I can make music on my terms. So, let's do that. That's when I decided to come back from retirement." So it turns out, he never really wanted to stop making music, but the industry was burning him out. He dropped the album Vinyl Days on June 17th, which ended his Def Jam contract, but he's still not completely independent. On July 4th, he announced that he had signed to BMG and said, "I'm just glad to move on to a place where I can be independent and respected as an artist and feel like I'm in control of my career." Now that his label situation has worked out, Logic will probably go back to releasing multiple projects a year. And hopefully everything stays cool with BMG, because otherwise, his fans might see him retire again. Ugly God. Ugly God popped off back in 2015 when he dropped the track I Beat My Meat on SoundCloud, which racked up over 33 million plays. He had actually uploaded it a couple of times before, but his high school basketball coach made him take it down because he thought it would affect his ability to land a scholarship. Then, in 2016, Ugly God proved that he wasn't a one-hit wonder when his track Water reached #80 on the Billboard Hot 100. And then he went viral again in 2017 when he dropped a diss track aimed at himself called Ugly God. But after his debut mixtape dropped in August 2017, Ugly God went quiet for a while. He's featured on Lil Yachty's album Lil Boat 2 and dropped a 4-song EP in 2018. But his debut album, Bumps and Bruises, still wasn't out, and fans ended up having to wait all the way till August 2019 before they got to hear it. When the album finally dropped, Ugly God went on Everyday Struggle and said, "It actually feels amazing to actually drop a body of music that, I worked and put my all into and that I'm super comfortable with. It feels good." He also talked about wanting to move on from making joke music like he did back in the day. None of the tracks on Bumps and Bruises went viral like Water or Ugly God, but the album still reached #46 on the Billboard 200. What fans didn't know is that this was going to be his last major project. After Bumps and Bruises was released, Ugly God faded out of the spotlight completely. He never officially retired, but he stopped dropping new music except for a couple of features and a short EP with Rizzo in 2020. It's not like Ugly God just fell off and lost all of his fans, but it seems like he wanted to take a step back and just raise his son and chill. He told fans during an IG live session that he was still making music so he could make a comeback soon if he wanted to. Even though he's barely been releasing music for the last 3 years, he still has over 600,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. So if he does decide to jump back in the game, he still has a loyal fan base that's ready to hear whatever he drops.